Hi, and welcome to Preach That. My name is Christopher King, your host, and I am talking with a special friend of mine, a guy I've known for, probably 10, 15 years or better. Awesome man of God, great story. Get ready to launch another book number 2, in a couple of weeks. And so we just want to spend some time with this young man, this man of God, this prophet, this bishop, this apostle, and kind of bring you up to date on what's been going on in his life, what this book is all about. So if you want to stay here, stay tuned because you don't want to miss it. I'm talking about none other than Bishop Tiangello Hill. How you doing, sir?
Doing great.
Wonderful, wonderful. Good. Listen, you've had a time the last couple of years here, going from a big church with many members. The last time you and I spent some time in ministry together, you had one of the greatest artists around, Kim Burrell. Great, awesome comfort that she brought to your church at the time. But things have moved on. You've moved on to some different things. So what's going on in your life now?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me again. Ministry at large has changed dramatically, and it has all changed for the better. A year ago, the Lord pressed upon me to start another ministry, because I know and believe that part of my ministry is to plant churches. I was of the mindset of that perhaps maybe the Lord wanted me to start another church in another city. Okay. Long story short, the Lord had moved me to start another church in the city that I was already pastoring. Mm-hmm. Consequently, whenever the Lord speaks and you begin to pursue that vision, that revelation, sometimes the Lord has to create chaos.
And what's chaos?
Oh, Father, sometimes he has to create some chaos to propel you into that dimension that he's trying to get you in. And ended up giving my resignation at the previous church that I was at. And you would have believed with the way the Lord had blessed that relationship, that after resigning and asking to remain there for another month, that they would have honored that request.
Right.
Quite naturally, they didn't. And I resigned that Sunday, and that next day, that Monday, I come home and they were changing the locks, and gave me a letter and told me they didn't want me to come back anymore. So, the Lord was pushing and moving. Right. And of course, Satan comes in and tries to do his thing. And I guess because of the fact that people knew the favor and the influence the Lord had upon my life, all kind of stuff, crazy stuff was coming out, to try to keep people from following where I was going. Right. And again, in short, Cathedral of Praise was born on the second Sunday of February. The first day we had 127 people to join. Wow. And the blessing about that is, out of the 127, maybe 30 of them came from the previous church.
Wow.
Everyone who has joined the ministry since a year ago have been fresh faces, fresh people. And today, a year later, we're looking at right at 500 people.
Wow.
In a year.
Wow.
And so through that experience, a lot of damaging thing was done to me personally. A lot of hurtful things happened. But through it all, the Lord made me focus in on everything that was going on. And from there, the new book has come. Okay. Entitled "Step Out of the Boat."
Step out of the boat.
Step out of the boat.
So you coming from a thriving church where you are dismissed in a very unchristian-like manner.
Absolutely.
People looking at you saying, "Great man." Now he's divorced.
Right.
Beautiful young daughter out of this wedding. Just wonderful girl. And so now we're in this book. were you using the passage where Peter is stepping out of the boat to kind of launch or propel you into what's next in your life?
It had a lot of influence to do with where I am, where I'm going, and what's going on now. Okay. Yes, the book indeed originated from that particular passage where Peter is stepping out of the boat, asking Jesus, Lord, if it be thou, bid me to come unto thee on the water. And from that text, I also took everything that I've gone through for the past year, and used it in book form to not only be a testimony, but to also help some other pastor, some other church leader, in whatever it is that they may be endeavoring to do while going through a struggle. Okay. But King, it was crazy because I struggled with God for a long time, for about 6 months to a year before I even pursued the unction or conviction to plant this church, to start this ministry. And quite naturally, again, at the very minute that I began to pursue this conviction, all hell bust loose.
So what is that struggle like? I mean, really, what is that struggle like when you almost want to say, forget church? Because people you pour your heart out into people, and you minister to people, you love people, you pastor people, and these same people turn around and want to do you harm. What is that to make you want to just continue to do that work in that?
I'll tell you what, in all honesty, I wanted to quit, tried to quit, in the process of quitting. And every time I tried to leave ministry altogether, the Lord shut me down. Went on 10 job interviews, literally 10 job interviews. Always made the top 3, top 5. Gave a great interview. We'll call you back. Right. And every phone call in return, you were a good candidate, but we found somebody else for the job. and through it all, in my hurt, in my pain, since preaching is the only thing I'm good at doing, I was amazed and even humbled at how through my pain and preaching through my pain, how people still connected to the voice, still connected to the gift, still connected to the anointing, and it was ministry for me, not just to preach, but to see people who are being affected positively by the ministry, by the gift, by the word.
So healing on both sides of the fence.
Healing on both sides of the fence. They're being healed by the message that God has given me, while not even understanding. I'm being healed by the fact that out of everything that has happened to me, with me, through me, over this past year, here are these group of people who are saying, sir, man of God, bishop, whoever you call yourself to be, whatever God has created you and called you to do, I need what you're saying so bad that I don't care about what the rumors were, what is going on, what did or didn't happen, what you did or didn't do. I need the word coming out of your mouth. And that within itself was healing for me. And it continues to be healing for me because, there's still some things as a man that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. But King, the Lord has just completely done a 360 in my life, in my ministry. My entire ministry has changed because apparently, or I shouldn't say apparently, but looking at the congregation at Cathedral of Praise, are a lot of people who come from crazy situations at other churches. Some experience at a lower level the same church hurt that I experienced. And to just have, I guess, something tangible before them that they can grab a hold of.
Say, you've been through that.
You've been through
you feel it.
You feel it.
Yeah.
It's ministry. You take, for instance, there's this gentleman. I won't call him by name, but I've been teaching on a series, a relationship series for the past month.
Okay.
This grown gentleman came to the altar crying, along with a multitude of other people, and said, "Bishop, I need to talk to you." It's almost as if we've been living identical lives.
Wow.
And we've been through some of the exact same stuff. And if you made it out, I want you to talk to me.
Right.
And so it's just been healing on both sides of the table.
Okay.
Healing on both sides of the table.
So walk us through this new book. You've shared some things with me, and I'm already excited about wanting to read it. So I had to interview you. So walk us through a couple of chapters of the book and kind of tell us what to look forward to in this book.
Okay, what to look forward to. My struggle with God was, God, I'm at a church now where when I first got here, it may have had between 120 to 200 people. At my departure, it had well over 1,500 people.
That's right.
1,000 of them were active. And I'm struggling with God because I'm saying to God, okay, this is good for me. This is good for me. I'm getting paid, 4 figures a week.
Right.
Look, Lord, don't mess up my gift bag. You understand? This is good. And so, the calling, the conviction, it got stronger. And I left and resigned at a time where most pastors would have considered me to be crazy.
Yeah, because you had a TV ministry going.
TV ministry.
You have big preachers coming who are well known. They come because of you.
Yes.
You have people wanting to mentor and visit you. I mean, you was at the top of your game, so to speak.
Yes. People coming from cities all around, surrounding counties. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. And that church was my comfort zone. It was my calling for a season, for 7 wonderful years. But it was my comfort zone. It was my boat.
That's right. Okay. I got you. You're safe in the storm in the boat.
I'm good.
Yeah.
You got normal church problems. Church folk get on your nerves, and we all get on each other's nerves. But this is my comfort zone. Every Sunday I come to church. Every week I come to work. I know the folk I'm going to have problems with. I know what I'm going to be up against. The ministry is there. We're going to have good worship on Sunday. Informative, intellectual sessions on Tuesday. My comfort zone.
Yeah.
I'm satisfied. I am content with this. And so things begin to fall apart.
Okay.
Attitudes begin to change. Relationships begin to go sour. Because I do believe when you stay in a place beyond the time frame that God has anointed you to be in, He will dismantle everything in that situation to push you where you're supposed to be. Now, granted, those people are good people. But because somebody is staying in a position longer than what God has allowed, things start to be dismantled. And in conjunction with that, then you deal with the emotional part of it. People not understanding, why you got to do this, or why does this have to happen this way? Because from a natural perspective, only thing the people in the pews can see is, that's my pastor. That's the only person I can see being my pastor. But when you are trying to follow the will of God, that Bible teaches us that the steps of a good man are ordered.
That's right.
And so we have to follow Him, and all our ways acknowledge Him. Follow Him, and He'll direct our path. And so, with that being said, again, it was my comfort zone. And so the Lord started disrupting some stuff, causing some chaos to push us out. But through that whole endeavor, we get this book, Step Out of the Boat. And in stepping out of the boat, here it is. Jesus has told Peter and the other disciples to go to the other side. In the process of going from the beginning to the destiny, they run into a storm.
Right, right.
Third watch of the night, fourth watch of the night, here comes Jesus walking to them on the water. Jesus sees them intimidated and fearful. He says, don't be afraid, it is I. Be not afraid. And so Peter responds and says, well, Lord, if it be thou, be it me come unto you on the water.
Yeah.
Peter steps out that boat in the middle of chaos.
In the middle of chaos.
In the middle of a storm. Begins to walk to Jesus. He walks. He walks.
He walks.
He walks.
That's right.
Takes his eyes off Jesus. Begins to sink. Cries, Lord, save me. Jesus catches him by the hand, takes him on the boat, and says, why did you fear? Where was your faith? And so, after considering everything that has happened to me since February of 2011 up until today, February of 2012, the Lord really dealt with me and showed me how everything that happened in that situation with Peter, revelationally, was the exact thing that happened in my life from February 2011 to February 2012.
So you were able to take this scripture, parts of this scripture, and specifically identify them with things going on in your life.
Absolutely.
I know in the book that you talked about the men in the boat.
Absolutely.
You said that they were all in the boat, but they wouldn't fall in the same plane.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
So kind of
the opening of the book is it starts off by the first chapter is perspectives.
Okay.
How we view this situation. Well, let's go back. The opening chapter is the crossover.
Okay.
The crossover is very significant because in the first chapter of the book, we deal with the crossover. We talk about how, one, there are people who are on the boat who are just trying to do right. They just want to obey God. God told me to leave from here, go there.
Right.
So all I want to do is just obey God. And as long as I obey God, then I'm good with that.
Them good church folk.
I'm good church folk.
Yeah.
Good church folk. Nothing wrong with it.
Right, right.
But Peter exemplifies that type of individual who doesn't just want to cross over, doesn't just want to go from one extreme to the next.
Right, right.
Peter is the individual who exemplifies that person who wants a greater experience with God in the transition, even in the midst of chaos. He's not concerned with just getting from one extreme to the next.
Right.
He's not necessarily concerned with just quote unquote trying to do right, trying to live right. Peter wants a one-on-one experience with God, going from one side to the other in spite of the storm. So in the crossover, we have to determine whether or not we are in this just to get over to the other side, or are we crossing over so that in the interim of going from here to there, we gain a testimony because we have this great encounter with God.
Right.
That's the opening chapter, and so the next chapter deals with perspectives.
Okay.
In that being, okay, now we're in this storm. We want this great experience. But how we view this situation and this season in our life causes us to either A, quit and turn around.
Right.
B, look for an easier route of transition. Or C, to be determined, in spite of the chaos, in the transition, I'm determined I'm going to have an experience with God. I'm going to get something out of this experience, something in this transition that's going to impact me, is going to empower me, and is going to pull me closer to God as opposed to push me further from God.
Yeah, so I imagine many pastors will find themselves in that situation. How do I deal with this? Do I tackle this head on?
Of course.
Do I try to go around it? I mean, so that not only does that apply to you, but I'm pretty sure there are many pastors who can read that and say, you know what, I feel that.
Oh, indeed. So often in the pastoralship, do we get so frustrated? There is a certain level of, and a certain degree of frustration when you're tempted to just say, forget it, they can do it, or I'm not fixing to deal with it. I can find an easier, situation or circumstance to put myself in. When indeed and in fact, sometimes we have to change our perspective and perception and stand here and say, okay, Lord, I'm looking for you in this situation.
Right.
But the issue here is, once we discover God in the issue, in the circumstance, we got to do like Peter. Okay, God, I trust that you are manifesting yourself in this situation. As a result, give me the tools, the wisdom, the know-how, the motivation to not run from this situation, but to walk in it.
So it was just like him identifying. He said, Lord, if it be you, need me to come. So then you got to identify with God. God, if this is you, this is what you want me in.
Absolutely.
Then show me how to get there.
Absolutely. Because the next chapter, after we deal with the crossover and the perspectives, is a great experience.
Okay.
I was put in a situation where I tried to run from the situation initially, looking for an easier situation, a better situation, a more comfortable situation, thinking that the greater experience with God was going to come in avoiding what it was I was going through. When indeed and in fact the great experience with God came in the situation. And so it taught me that instead of focusing on what people are saying about you, how they're trying to dog you, how people are trying to set it up so that you don't succeed, you got to pause for a minute, not focus on that, and say, okay, God, where are you here? What is this? Because on down in the book, there is a chapter that says, is this for me? And that is very key, because if you're engaged in something and you're not sure, you understand? You're not sure about what you're doing, as is whether or not it is of God, or is this something that God wants you to do. You'll run in a minute. You'll quit in a minute. Because people who are not sure about what God has called them to do, they'll start the shoe shine ministry today, and because 3 customers didn't come in this week, now they want to go to the car wash ministry. And now next week, God called you to car wash ministry. And then, that don't work. Now the following month, God called you to the lawn care service. You understand? Because there is no assurance that this is what God has called me to do. But when you know that God has called you to do it, you are forced, convinced, convicted, and compelled to walk in it, in spite of the aggression of the situation that you're having to walk in.
So this is going to be an awesome book.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it.
And so I'm pretty sure there are people who are watching this, pastors, because we didn't talk about the fellowship that you have. You have a great fellowship that you're starting. And this is the kind of caliber of ministry that you're going to bring to them. So tell us a little about your fellowship.
The name of the fellowship is United Christian Fellowship. Interestingly enough, the fellowship had been organized and structured prior to the resignation.
Oh, wow.
And keep in mind, the entire time all of this is going on, I'm scheduled to be consecrated bishop, organizing the fellowship, putting things in place for crusades, for my personal ministry and the other things that are going on through TV. And for a season, everything was halted, stopped. The fellowship, the consecration, the venture of the new church just stopped. And the Lord came to me in my sleep one night and asked me a question. He says, why do you want to be a pastor? Why do you want to be in the bishopric? what is the purpose for this organization? I remember my answers to God like it was yesterday.
Okay.
I gave God two answers. I said, Lord, I just want to please you. Mm-hmm. He says, okay. He says, but why do you want this?
Wow. Wow, making it personal.
Making it personal. And I remember in the conversation, there was a pause. And I looked back at God. And I said, God, I want to minister to your people. Mm. He said, now I let you do it.
Wow.
And I woke up. And from that day forward, up until this present day, it has still been very chaotic. Mm-hmm. But everything has fell in place. And I know the Lord was checking my motive.
Mm-hmm. Right.
To see whether or not this was for self,
yeah,
or to really minister to people. To answer your question, the fellowship, it is a organization that involves ministries from all denominations, all races, mm-hmm, all walks of life. Not trying to get anybody to change their denomination.
Right.
Not trying to get anyone to leave their organization or denomination. This organization is to simply give healing to pastors, give healing to church workers and leaders,
right,
and to also give healing to churches. Mm-hmm. It's hard to minister to people when you've always been on the good side of church. You know, I've been in reformations and organizations where you're under leadership and under these, quote unquote coverings, mm-hmm, right, who want to lead you by dictatorship, without necessarily leading and covering from a relative perspective, right, and standpoint of view. And so in the organization, I give all of the pastors, we have about 7 now, okay, 7 churches that's a part of it. And I love our pastors. I love the pastors in our organization. Mm-hmm. I love them from the perspective of, because I understand I'm not a perfect man.
Right.
Haven't always been right. I love them from the standpoint of, let me show you and be transparent enough and honest enough with you to let you know what happened to me in this situation. Mm-hmm. What happened when I made this mistake.
Right.
What happened when I operated out of this ignorance, and show you why you shouldn't do it.
Wow.
Not in an aspect of judging you,
right,
but to keep you from getting caught up in.
Yeah, been through it.
Been there, done it.
Yeah.
Got the wounds
and
and
if
scars.
You'd be ashamed of it, but we can work through this.
I'm not ashamed of
it.
Yeah. My first book was entitled Let's Be Real, mm-hmm, The Truth About Church and Church Leadership. And that's what that entire book deals with. So that's the way I deal with all of our pastors that are in the fellowship, deal with the churches and the church workers, and it's been a blessing. It's been a great blessing.
Bishop, we are looking forward to this book. We're excited about it. The book hit the shelves in
March 21st.
March 21st.
I'm excited.
March 21st.
I'm excited.
Got something big planned?
I'm planning and hoping for great release. Great release.